this response that I got from posting on KGW or KATU News. KATU News, Channel 2 News website, on their Facebook page. I posted a comment on a news story, and here's the news story right here. Well, I posted the fact that I am a victim of a sting operation that was started by my wife and by her side of the family. They were palling around with and sleeping around with people in law enforcement, and me and my family became targeted by these people. Now, I've been reporting these crimes all over the internet. My calls for help are covered up by the Portland Police and by the Multnomah County Sheriffs. My wife was cheating on me with somebody in law enforcement. These people in law enforcement and my wife and her side of the family were setting me up for crimes that they all were committing. And they were using an officer as a double the entire time. And they were poisoning people. And the entire time they were harassing me, they were harassing my parents. Everybody on my side of the family were being targeted and harassed and terrorized and battered and poisoned, and the whole time they were trying to keep me busy with one disaster after another disaster after another disaster. My wife's buddies in law enforcement were renting apartments surrounding ours. It was a relatively big operation on their part. They operate under the pretense of a sting operation, but it's far from being anything official, because they most certainly do not want to admit to it, considering all the people in the family that died during their so-called sting operation. They had the apartments surrounding mine. They had apartments surrounding my father. They had sting operatives literally living with my mother, literally, and they were terrorizing my whole family. They battered my mother using a person as a double. The person was by no means a twin to me, but he is a damn close look-alike who specifically tailored his appearance so that he could look more like me. And he was even dressing up like me. And he even, at the time, had a mustache like me. Now, I don't have a mustache anymore, but back then I had a mustache. And this person went out of his way. Now, he's not an exact twin by any measure of the word, as you would think of an exact twin, but you would, if you've seen this person, you would immediately think this guy's a look-alike. That would be your first impression right off. Well, Portland Police and the Multnomah County Sheriffs have a history of using doubles. They usually select from their own ranks people that they use as doubles. And when I say from their own ranks, that usually means not just people in law enforcement, but people that they're related to, or people that law enforcement's friends to, or people that law enforcement has that are girlfriends to people in law enforcement. Anybody and everybody that pals around with anybody in law enforcement generally is a sting operative. Unofficially, of course. They never admit to it. Civilians very rarely admit they're involved in a sting operation. But police and county sheriffs recruit civilians all the time in sting operations.
That's something that news reporters try to hide from people, and so does Hollywood. Hollywood tries to hide that fact from people. They don't want people to know. And
police and county sheriffs recruited my wife and her side of the family into their sting operations when my wife was working at the Multnomah County Jail kitchen as a food prep person. My wife got recruited into this shit. And she only worked at the Multnomah County Jail kitchen for a month and a half. And they already had my wife turned against me. They had her, she was having an affair with somebody in law enforcement. Who at the time, I do not know. I can make a good guess back then as to who, but I did not find out at the time who she was having an affair with. I didn't deem it a priority to figure it out at the time. But I knew she was cheating. Well, my family was targeted by these people, and they were framing me. They were setting me up as a pedo. They had our daughters to lie for them. My wife, they recruited my wife into this shit. My wife, in turn, recruited her whole side of the family into it. And then my wife recruited our daughters into it. And from that point forward, it was just a matter of them making me look like a bad guy. They didn't need to prove that I'm some sort of a bad guy. All they needed to do was make me look like one. And that's what they concentrated on. They spent thousands of dollars turning my yard into a playground, while my wife's buddies in authority arranged to get a double onto my property. And that's how blatant and that's how obvious it was. And they didn't give a shit if I knew. They didn't give a shit if I suspected. At no time was anybody really trying to hide anything from me. The whole time, they all treated it like it was a sport. The entire time. They never cared if I knew or suspected. As a matter of fact, the day my wife quit her job at the Multnomah County Jail kitchen is the very day my wife and everybody on her side of the family made it known to me what was going on. They were not outright admitting to it to my face, but they were hinting at it. And I discovered, gee, if I walk away from these people and I have my back turned towards them, they think I'm not paying attention. So they all start talking about it amongst each other. And gee, it was very easy to overhear them and to uncover their plan. And I pretty well had the whole situation pegged and just misjudged the size and severity of it. I thought it was a few bad apples in law enforcement and everybody on my wife's side of the family. That's what I thought it was. And I thought, well, I'm the only target of it, so I didn't worry about other people's safety. I didn't think I had to worry about other people's safety. And I was more than gung-ho about hanging in there to prove it. And I was essentially waiting for them to admit to their bullshit investigation. I wanted them to admit to their bullshit investigation. But I misjudged the size and severity of their conspiracy. I didn't realize just how corrupt law enforcement was at the time. I didn't realize that they're all bad. They're all bad. But at the time, I was under the belief that, it must be a few bad apples in law enforcement that my wife and her side of the family are palling around with that gave them permission to set me up and shit. I didn't realize they were targeting other people, not just me. They were targeting everybody on my side of the family. Everybody. As a matter of fact, they had my whole family surrounded by sting operatives that were either undercover cops or civilian operatives. Everybody on my wife's side of the family, including my wife, became a civilian sting operative the day my wife quit her job at the Multnomah County Jail kitchen. Because that's the day they were all on board with the county sheriff's plan to set me up. And they were celebrating it that day. And they were having fun hinting to it to my face. And that's how blatant and obvious it was. And it was just a simple matter of me saying nothing, not wanting to be anywhere near these people, and just paying attention and just overhearing what they're talking about. That's literally how I uncovered the whole damn thing. And I uncovered their conspiracy when they were in celebration mode. Well, they were doing all kinds of shit. They had they weren't just targeting me; they were targeting my parents, and they had my entire family surrounded by these people. They took over the apartment right next door to me 3 days after my wife quit her job at County Jail Kitchen. They didn't even care if I noticed. So the whole time, the entire operation was never about them really trying very hard to be covert or anything. They just didn't care because they had so many people turned against me behind my back that they just didn't give a shit. When law enforcement took over that apartment, my wife's buddies in authority, literally the same day my wife quit her job at County Jail Kitchen because her buddies in authority told her to quit so that she can conceal her connections with them. She's trying to hide her connections with law enforcement because from that point forward she became a civilian sting operative for law enforcement. And the same day they told her to quit is the same day the county sheriff filled out paperwork to take over the surrounding apartments surrounding mine. The very next morning, law enforcement had a 72-hour notice on her next door neighbor's apartment. The very next morning, I checked around 9:30 that morning. I checked. And I was already expecting it to happen, based on what I already overheard the night before, when my wife and her side of the family were celebrating this conspiracy of theirs they joined into. 3 days later, the old tenants out of that apartment moved out, and an hour later, literally 1 hour later, the Multnomah County Petal Sheriffs and the Portland Police took possession of that apartment. They literally pulled in with a moving van. They pulled in with a moving vehicle, and they began loading up that apartment with police equipment and office equipment. And the people that were doing this were in plain clothes. So they're trying to conceal the fact they're in law enforcement. But keep in mind that they're not using police marked vehicles or county sheriff marked vehicles. They're undercover. But they're in plain clothes, and they're using a generic moving vehicle to move their police equipment and office equipment into that apartment to take it over. But keep in mind, they just took over the apartment an hour. 1 hour after the old tenants moved out. The landlord never even got to inspect the apartment, let alone clean it. They just took immediate possession of it and didn't think I would notice. Well, that's the best way I can describe local authorities' sting operations. They don't really try very hard. They go through the motions of hiding it, but they don't really try very hard because they just don't give a shit. Anyway, I've been reporting these people's crimes. I have been targeted by the Portland Police and Multnomah County Sheriffs and by their civilian operatives regularly since early 1999. Ever since my wife got that job at County Jail Kitchen. Ever since. I've been reporting their crimes over the internet because all my 911 calls get covered up. My parents' 911 calls were covered up. My 911 calls are covered up. Nobody will take a complaint in Portland, Oregon on law enforcement or their civilian operatives for that fucking matter. So I've been reporting their crimes all over the fucking internet. I have video evidence of them gang stalking me and using street theater tactics to set me up. And I even have them on video using doubles, and that they're placing doubles in front of my apartment building, and they're putting on bullshit performances for law enforcement's fuzzy video surveillance because, like I said, they're using doubles. So, and I have these people in law enforcement even bragged on audio death threats. So, and I've provided links to the evidence. My wife bragged in her diary to her affair with Officer Eric Carlson. He's a Portland cop. My wife bragged in her diary, I cannot get help from 911. My wife is bragging in her diary, I cannot get help from Portland police. My wife's admitting that was debilitated and ill. She's naming off the poison she uses, and she's admitting she wants life insurance monies, and she's admitting she poisons drinks and shit. She admits to that in her damn diary, and she admitted, I'm trying to find help. Well, the Portland police was covering up my 911 calls back then and were making damn sure I could not get help at a hospital by using their power of influence. I couldn't get help because of it. So I'm reporting near crimes publicly, and I'm posting links to evidence of their guilt. Well, a representative of, I believe it is KGW, this person right here, and he's on Facebook. He is trying to be sarcastic. In other words, I'm reporting crimes. I'm reporting murders. I'm reporting poisonings. I'm reporting fucking crimes, and people are supposed to take a fucking complaint. And the fucking police department and the county sheriffs and their civilian operatives enjoy pissing off anybody that tries to report crimes that law enforcement commits. This idiot right here, this idiot is trying to act like all this admissible evidence and links to admissible evidence that I am providing with detailed information explaining each and every one. This son of a bitch is deliberately and intentionally trying to piss me off, and literally he's acting just like the Portland police and the Multnomah County sheriffs. It's what you would call taunting. This person is taunting. He's like, yawn. Okay, see, now this is how the Portland police are when I call fucking 911. When I call 911, this is how the Portland police behave, just like that. No fucking different. No goddamn fucking different. So I'm pointing out to this asshole that I'm reporting fucking crimes of which I have a right to report. And since I'm being threatened with death threats from people in law enforcement, and that I'm a witness to the fact that these people in law enforcement and their civilian operatives, aka their girlfriends, committed a fucking murder. Now this son of a bitch right here, now I'm going to back off of this for a second, and I'm going to look at so that's enough for you to know that this is somebody that, see, I'm posting on my Facebook account, and this is somebody that's responded to what I'm posting. Now, any and every attempt on my part to report their crimes gets met by a bunch of fucking ass idiots that want a life for fucking cops. They don't take complaints. Terry's going to beat the shit out of him. He said he's going to beat the little fuck out of a cop. He's never surrendered to a police officer. Terry, He wants to see these people murdered or destroyed. He wants them